Hi and welcome to my place. Today the lesson is about actual and visual balance when it comes to designing with flowers. I've had lots and lots of requests and lots of complaints and letters from people saying to me, oh, my arrangement fell over or it keeps tipping over. Now let me just show you as an example of what I'm talking about. We have this beautiful Phalaenopsis or moth orchid into this container. You'll notice that it's very tall, and you'll also notice that it swings or hangs down. Well, now it looks good. It's in this beautiful little container. You know, as a standalone specimen, it looks okay. But let me show you what happens. It falls over. And the reason it falls over is because this is too big, all of this is too big for this tiny, tiny container. Now that is a very good example of when something is visually not balanced and actually not balanced. It shouldn't do that. And as the artist, you need to make sure that you've got your mechanics sorted out, and whoever you are gifting this to or wherever you are placing it, you don't have that issue. Now, this little example is from our daughter-in-law's place, and it has annoyed me so much. I decided that, having gone through the office and all the Gmails, that we should sort it out right now so that when I go back to her place, I don't have to have this issue anymore, because honestly, it's just not right. The general rule of thumb is the height, 1.5 times the height or the width of your container. By that is, this stem here should be 1.5 times the height or the width, whichever is the greater, of the container. That is how you solve the issue. So in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to show you just, not 5 minutes, I don't know how long it's going to take. I'll show you just how to sort this. So when I say 1.5 times high, let me just pull that out of there. And whoever's done the designing thought that they were being very clever by gluing that into place. Well, let me just tell you that the glue into the dried foam, it doesn't stay. It will come off, as you can see, and all the little bits, the little crusty bits or little fibres from the foam have come off. The other thing is this moss has been in the sun, and you will notice the colour of that moss. That's what happens when it's in the fresh air, and it just, because it starts off like this and after a while it will go to be that colour. So you're best to, if you've got another type of moss, hold on, just let you have a look at that. Instead of using that type of moss, you might be better to use something like that, which is actually artificial. This is a living thing, but this is an artificial moss made in China. It comes in big sheets, but that would be the best to use, unless you're going to regularly change it out to using this moss that looks like this. Yeah, I quite like this moss, and it is natural, but really, is it? You know, I quite prefer the green as opposed to that sort of like it's going off anyway. So that, I think, is a much sharper green. Okay, so let me just show, getting rid of all of that. Now, and I know that this might seem a bit messy, but it won't be messy once we get there. Take that out of there. The other thing that I need to tell you is, let's go right back to the mechanics. That block was placed into there, and they've put that there. Now, that there must have been to just fill in that little space there. That actually needs to be seriously wedged in really tight so that nothing moves, but we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so here we have this beautiful stem here. Now, because I know that that's not, you know, that didn't work, the best way forward would have been to use a big container like this. Now, it doesn't fall over. The other thing I need you to know is that all of the weight is going over to that side there. I think that, and I've got another little rule, 1 on its own is okay, 2 is visually much more interesting to look at. So I've got another one here, and what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to push that down into there like so. Now that's better. So I've got a big one up here, and even though that there is longer than it is on this side, I know that the imaginary line running through here, I've got it balanced. You know, you've got the natural order of growth happening on both sides. Now we can just bring that one there down a bit so that that sort of like goes down towards the base like that. That's looking better. And then, because it's an orchid and because it's artificial, it actually needs to have some foliage down the bottom so that the whole design, making it look as natural as possible, that you've got this lovely base here. So you've got this line that comes up, which is not quite 1.5 times the height of the container, because this is still a bit bigger. But if it was naturally growing, you know that it would just grow up and then they would just fall off. Now, another little tip I want to give you is if you've got these growing fresh at your place, what you can do is when these die off, you could put the artificial in. Looks really attractive, and from a distance, nobody knows. So just by putting the foliage down the bottom, what you're doing is you're giving that natural order of growth, and you're also visually weighting down the bottom of that container. So you've got this lovely line that comes up. It's strong and it's sturdy, nothing's falling over. You've got this beautiful growth that's happening up here with these lovely orchids falling down. It looks simple and elegant, and it looks like it's growing. So that is the type of container that you should put something tall. Okay, getting rid of that. Now let's just look at your mechanics. Get rid of all of that, because that is not working. I don't know what that was. Sometimes designers put things into things and I think, oh yeah, really? What is that? More of would have been better. Okay, so here we have the foam, and what I do is this. Put that on there like that. This. And because the next example I'm going to do is using artificial, this is the type of foam to be using. The grey foam, always remember that the grey foam is for artificial, and the green foam, when it's soaked, is for fresh. However, sometimes I cheat, and if I'm going to put artificial forms into a container and then put fresh flowers into it, I will cheat and use the green. Okay, so we've got a mark there. And I just want that. Oh, right, now we have something that is almost strong and sturdy, but just to make sure that everything is in there and nothing is going to move, look at that. Solid as a rock. That's what your base needs to be before you go any further, because if you don't do that, as I showed you when we first started, it's all going to tip out, and it's such a nuisance. So if you're going to do it, do the job properly right at the start. Okay, so I have my foam into there. I would prefer to be using that. Oh yes, I can use it. I have got enough. So I'm going to put that into there, and that's just going to cover that foam so that I'm not visually having a look at it, because the grey foam really has no other purpose other than to firmly hold the flowers into place. So as I said, 1.5 times the height or the width of the container. So that there is 1, 2, 3, 4 times higher than that, but it's also visually a much smaller form. And because we're trying to create something that looks like it's growing naturally, I think we can get away with this. Now, if that stays there, I think we'll be fine. Yes, it is going to stay there. Now, I like to have things, you could have them all at the same length, but what I like to do for a design like this is just cheat nature ever so slightly, and then to just step your flowers down. They don't have to all be just going, all the same way, because in nature, nothing's perfect. So, sometimes you just have to just cheat the whole process. So that can go into there like that at a different level, and then with this one here, I'm just going to cut just the tiniest little bit off, and I'm just going to push that into there like so, and then you can push and manipulate that so that it is falling down just a wee bit further. I'm going to do the same with this one here. There we have it. And then, because that has that kind of a leaf, because I'm trying to play nature, I'm just going to push that into there like that, and then just have that coming out of there. And because I've got the moss down there, it's covering up my workings, and it's visually balanced, and it's also actually balanced, and it's not going to fall over like that did when that big long stem was coming up here in that wee pot. I hope I have solved your actual and visual issues when it comes to designing. If it looks like it's going to tip, it actually probably will tip. I hope I've been of assistance to all of you that wanted to know how to solve that problem. I've enjoyed showing you how to do it, and I think that that looks much better in that little cubic container with those little flowers, big container. I hope you have enjoyed this, because I've really enjoyed sharing it with you. See you again another day.